Micah Parson. Oh, actually, no. Let me not start there. People ask me why I don't talk about the NFL much, and it boils down to the way they do business irks my soul. It makes me feel very cheated. It makes me cry tears for these professional athletes because they're out here putting their body and soul and heart and sweat and tears into every single play, but it don't feel like the game is giving that back to them. It feels like it's so lackluster when it comes to the business side of it all. It feels like a bunch of folks are out here getting taken advantage of for one main reason. The money is there, but they're fighting tooth and nail to get a penny of it. And that's why watching Micah Parson request a trade hurts my heart, because A should have never gotten to that point. That feels like a scar on the marking of the NFL. Because one of the things I've been thinking about recently, I feel like the NFL is going to be in a not a player crisis, and not even so much of a money crisis, but they're going to keep playing with the wrong ones, and it will break the bank. It will ruin it for everybody. Because let's talk about the Micah Parsons situation for a little bit. So just some context. Micah Parsons has requested a trade from the Dallas Cowboys because they have not been able to come to an agreement when it comes to his new deal, his new extension that is coming up. Micah Parsons is arguably top two. It's kind of hard to get anything past maybe 3, depending on how you view the quarterbacks ahead of him. And the fact that he is so important to what the Dallas Cowboys do, and now they're acting all 1 foot in, 1 foot out when it comes to this negotiation. It makes me feel a little scorned. It makes me feel a little sad, especially for the behalf of Micah Parsons, because he's been bleeding this metallic silver and blue. He has been doing his darndest to be one of the greatest. Being one of the greatest ambassadors to the Cowboys franchise. He's a cowboy. That man has been doing his thing. He has been promoting the Cowboys. He has been destroying his competition. Like, for the past 3 years, he has been top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year votings. That's crazy. That's the first ever. That's crazy. Like that's crazy, right? And the fact that he's still on his first deal, he is only on the trajectory up. Like, he only gets better from here, right? And as I'm sitting back here, one of the main reasons why the NFL kind of irks me is because of the way that they do their payments, right? The way they do their contracts is, what can you do for me now? When it comes to trying to extend somebody, when in context, for example, the NBA, it's, well, what did you do for me? And let me pay you for what you did, and let me make it right from then on out, right? That's the way that the NBA tries to facilitate their contract negotiation. And alongside that, the NFL also does this thing where they don't guarantee all the bread. I'm sorry. If not a quarterback gets... you will be very lucky to get anything more than 45% guaranteed if you're not a quarterback. And you know what? Both sports are vastly different. For example, the NFL just has, I think, 100 people, give or take, in a team, and compared to the 15 to like 20 at most that an NBA roster is able to hold. Which is like, yeah, there's different monies, there's different places that has to go, there's different people that have to get paid. I understand that. But when we're talking about a superstar, it feels very disingenuous that they have to go through so much just to get their money. just for them to even sniff their money. And the reason why this situation even happened in the first place, so some context and background. So allegedly what happened, Jerry Jones, we all know him. We all, I don't want to say love, but we are all a little irritated by him. That's a whole nother conversation. So Jerry Jones goes and he links up with Micah. They hang out. They're having a little meeting. They're supposed to be talking about, leadership, the year up to coming, things of that nature. Very fun, very calm, very, very, very regular interaction that you have with your owner, right? And throughout the conversation, some numbers get floated out, some contract ideas get put to the table, and then Jerry's like, "Hey, what you think about this number? Is this a good number for what you thinking?" And then Micah's like, "Oh, this is a good number. Yeah, I'd like this. This would be cool for me, right?" And then after that moment, they're like, "Okay, this will be the contract that we're gonna give you, and you gotta sign it. Don't sign it, but this is the contract that we are willing to offer you guys." And he's like, "Okay." He goes and takes it to his agent, because keep in mind, his agent was not there to begin with all this talk about money and things of that nature. And the agent's like, "First of all, why are you talking to him about bread? That's why you pay me. That's why you talk to me. There's a reason why I get 10% of the contract to begin with. So you don't ever have to talk about this bread, right?" So he looks at it. He's like, "Hobblepotch. Terrible. I'm not going for it." And then he's like, "Hey, you could probably get a little bit more, and we are going to demand a little bit more. I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes. I think that you are worth that little extra change." You feel me? So he goes and brings it back to Jerry. He's like, "Hey, I would like a little bit more. This is what we're more so looking for when it comes to the bread." And Jerry's like, "Well, we already signed it. I'm sorry. We already had the conversation. This is the money we're going to do." And he looks at him. He's like, "Well, here's the best we can do. Let's talk about it later." And then the agent's like, "No, that's not the way it goes. That's not how it does it. Because first of all, why did you guys not reach out to me in the first place?" And now it looks like the agent hasn't been talking to the ownership yet. They haven't talked about nothing. And that's crazy. That's crazy, because if it was one thing, like they're trying to pull this with a Lamar Jackson that doesn't have any representation besides, I think it's like him and his mother. I think that's what he does. It's like, fine, that's reasonable. But then he has a guy. He literally has a guy. And now the media's trying to make him look like, oh, and that's another thing I want to hit on real quick. The media, especially when it comes to sports media, it has this weird way of putting the athlete in such a very compromising position where they can be looked at as a bad man, a very bad guy, if they're not willing to acquiesce to the ownership, to the team, Cowboys, Vikings, whatever it may be. And it got me thinking. The NFL has a lot of ways of underpaying and I don't want to say disrespecting the player, because they know exactly what they're coming into when they sign in to be part of that crest and shield. But there's a lot of ways that the teams get away with not paying their players. So the fact that it's kind of seen as a crazy thing to renege on an offer that wasn't really a real offer, since both parties' representation was not there. Because like NFL teams, if they don't want to pay you, they will cut you. Yeah. If they don't think that you're worth what you are, yeah, just get out of here, buddy. We'll max you. Well, actually, we'll max you for 2 of the 5, and in the 3rd year we can decide what we really want to do about it. And that's how a lot of the contracts are kind of like set up, especially even with the rookie deals, for example. The rookie deals are weird because you get your 4 years and then you get the 5th option, right? And the 5th option doesn't really make sense for a guy like Micah Parsons that's all pro, that's top 3 in defensive, top 3 defensive players in the league, where it's like, his production, especially year after year after year, his injury history, year after year after year after year, where he's for the most part very healthy, right? So the fact that there's all these different hoops that need to be jumped through to see this player as worth what they are asking for is like, that's so crazy, because of he still hasn't got a deal done. When you got guys like Sauce Gardner already has a deal, and it feels very weird that they're trying to prolong this, because it feels like, okay, if they don't sign anything, hey, franchise tag you, boom. If they're still not able to figure out a thing about you, they're like, you're fine, we'll franchise tag you again. And here's where it gets tricky, because of you could technically get 3 franchise tags in your career, but that's weird when the average career is 6 to 7 years, and you're only getting to like the 10 and the 12 year if you're like a generational quarterback. What are we talking about? The Tom Brady's and the how long did LT play for? I think he played for pretty long. Like the Ray Lewis's and things of that nature, where they're actually able to sustain such high level of play for a decade plus. It's not the average. It's really not the average. So now that we're talking about players that are trying their best, let me not say trying their best. When you're watching a player that is actually succeeding and holding up their end of the bargain, the fact that it takes so much for him to get paid is just blowing me. But I think that's just, I think that's kind of why I'm spoiled while I'm watching the NBA, because of they have such a different level of camaraderie and camaraderie. Their union is actually real. Like, I was looking at some of the NFL unions, some of the player organizations, and it feels like a drop in a bucket and they're swaying. and I feel like that's kind of that's the way that the league is set up in and of itself, because of the way that they pay players is vastly different from, like, let's say a second string wide receiver versus a 10-year vet that's already gotten their money. Or that's a very bad example. It's very hard for them to stand strong in what they believe in on trying to get more bread, or trying to be able to set their teams up to be able to have more negotiation rights when it comes to stuff like getting guaranteed money, for example. Because it's like, well, how long can you really hold out? And here's another thing. You can hold out all you want, but the NFL will keep going. Look at AB, for example. There's nothing that you could there's nothing you can do, you can really do, because that's one of the main differences between the NBA and the NFL. Because it's like, with NBA fans, they're fans of players. They love a LeBron James down. They love a James Harden. They love their Kyrie Irvings, because they're able to get such face time that they're able to ingratiate themselves and be able to connect with the players. But then when you turn to the NFL, the average fan is like, well, I've been a Seahawks fan my whole life. My daddy was a Seahawks fan. My grandpappy was a Seahawks fan. And it's like, well, yeah, I don't care that a very, very mid player is not having the best of time on their team, because they want to get paid more. They want to get paid more, even though they're like a millionaire. It's like, oh, how dare you ask for more money? It's very easy to have the average NFL fan turn on these players. So it's very difficult watching a guy like Micah struggle to get his bread, because it's like, hey, trade me then. I'm going to request a trade. But I'm telling you this now, they are not letting that man go. They are not doing it. And it feels weird, because I've seen Jerry do this time and time again. And it always costs them so much more money. Like, I remember I was starting to be a big NFL fan when I was watching Zeke, right? Ezekiel Elliott of the Cowboys. And it took them like forever to pay him, right? They franchise tagged him. They put him through the ringer in the media. It was crazy. And then by the time that they actually paid him, because eventually Jerry always pays, he wasn't good anymore. He just wasn't good. And it's like, well, that's That's a shame. That is definitely a shame. But now let's go ahead and just like cut you and bring you back on like a little vet minimums. You know, something calm. So technically, you might have won the negotiation, but your team sucks. And then guess what? They did the same thing with Dak. They took forever to pay him, and then by the time they paid him, they made him the highest paid quarterback by a good amount. And it's like, well, now you really have to sleep in the bed that you made. And I'm watching them do it to the young players because of like CeeDee Lamb had this exact same problem when it came to the bread, where they were doing everything in their power not to send him nothing. Why would you do that? Pay them now because it's cheaper. Pay them before somebody breaks the bank. And that's my bad takeaway from that, because it's like you didn't need to do all that.